This is Connect.Faith. I'm Debbie Bronkema, and this is Chris Dingman. We're really excited to talk with you today about the work you've been doing with the vibraphone and healing. It's a really interesting mix, and I'd love to hear particularly how did you get started with music and the vibraphone?
Yeah, so from an early age, I was drawn to music and I loved percussion and I got into playing piano. Vibraphone, I knew what it was. I'd heard Lionel Hampton as a kid and some vibraphone in jazz, and but I didn't think about vibraphone as an option for, a career path or, even an instrument that I could really get and play until I played some in high school, but really until I went to college is when I considered that as an option because one of the first people I met, one of the first professors I met at Wesleyan University in Connecticut was the great vibraphonist Jay Hogard, who met me as a drummer and said, "Hey, have you ever played vibraphone?" And I said, "Yeah, I've tried it." And he said, "You're gonna play vibes." And that was like one of the first things he said to me, and turned out to be true. I got really into it, and I was really drawn to the sound specifically, and there was some connection that I made with it. It felt like a spiritual connection with the sound, like something coming through me, or I was very drawn to it. So that's what really captivated me and got me into it.
I saw something on one of your websites said that it brings listeners on a journey to a transcendent place. I love that description of what your music does. Can you tell us a little bit about particularly the healing piece that you've discovered lately on your journey with this?
I think I started being drawn to music as a healing modality when I started composing, when I put out my first album, Waking Dreams, in 2011. One of the most meaningful pieces of feedback I got was actually from an elderly man or actually the partner of an elderly man who I think he had Alzheimer's, and the music really brought him to life. And I got this very thankful message from his partner, and it was really struck me hard.
That's awesome.
That's wow, this is powerful. A powerful impact you can have with music. And so I started getting into the idea, but still was sort of, I don't know, not totally sure what to do with that, aside from just keep making music and putting it out. And then in 2018, my dad became very ill and was uh, um, sent to hospice care. So really, he was at the end of his life, and was not aware, that he knew that he had a terminal condition, but he wasn't told that he only had a few months to live. It's a rare condition that he had, and we thought that he had another 5 years or so. And so when he went to the hospital, um, we just thought he was going to come back out of the hospital, and things took a really quick turn for the worse. And that's when I was actually going to be going there anyway, and then I had to rush there, and I just had my phone with a couple pieces of music on it. And in the hospital, he was really struggling. He had a pump in his heart, and very uncomfortable, very disorienting. And we wanted to use music to help soothe him. And he loved jazz and he loved opera, and so we tried some of those things. And it so happened that I had 3 pieces of music I had recorded for my mother when she was in the hospital earlier, like about 6 months prior to this. And we played him those tracks probably 100 times.
Wow.
And even while we were there, we were told that he wouldn't make it beyond a couple days.
Wow.
And so we used music a lot of different ways, but we were finding it difficult to find enough music and find music that he would like, because often when you search for like relaxing music or healing music, a lot of electronic music comes up, and that wasn't really his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like there was, a need, and also that we couldn't fill the need very well. And it turned out that he recovered and was sent to hospice care and ended up in home hospice for another 2 months. And so that's when I brought my vibraphone and would play for him at night. And he would often wake up sort of in a panic or have a difficult time sleeping, and he was having a hard time breathing. And so the music was a comfort and something to help him calm down during those times and help him rest, help him get to a restful place. And over time, it amounted to 5 hours of music that I played for him and recorded. And he had it on CDs, and he would keep he had a CD player next to him, next to his bed, and he would just put the next CD on. Overnight, he would play the CDs for himself. And eventually, he started talking about what it was doing for him. I just thought maybe it was just helping him relax, which it was. But then he started saying the music was designed to open up patterns of thought and being. Wow. And I thought, wow, this is having a real impact in different ways than I thought. And we started talking about it more. And so for him, I think it was something to help him get out of like the cycles of trauma in his mind, and get out of really painful thought cycles that he was stuck in, and grappling with what he was going through, facing death, and something that we all have to face, and I don't think it's easy for anyone. And so he eventually felt that this music should go and help others. He wanted others to hear the music and to use it in the end of life process. And he named most of the music himself.
Really?
Yeah, we sat together and kind of came up with the titles, and mostly I had him do it. And we together named the collection Peace.
That's really powerful.
Yeah. So.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's really awesome that you're able to take that and then share it with more people and make that experience something that is healing, maybe for you too, in the grieving process, I would think, knowing that you're doing what he asked you to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had somebody email me recently saying that the music, that they had a parent in hospice care and they had already lost another one, and the music was their safety blanket.
Wow.
And that really struck me really hard. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Really great to know that it's helping someone.
You talked about composing. Is that something you compose, the music you play? Do you compose around the idea of peace and transcendence, or what motivates you in your writing of music?
Yeah, it's interesting, the relationship between composition and improvisation. They're very related. So a lot of what I do just on the vibraphone alone is improvisation, but it's heavily connected to the composition process for me. And over the course of the last 10 years or so, I've done a lot of both, and I've felt like the composition has started informing more and more the choices I make improvising on vibraphone. And I often don't write down what I'm going to play on vibraphone. It feels better to let the moment kind of decide what's going to happen and what's needed. And I think especially in terms of thinking of it as a healing practice, it makes kind of more sense not to like try to preordain what is going to help in that moment, or what's needed, or what's really even coming from me, or what's sincere for me. Not that you can't play a composition sincerely, but I just find it easier to just
Kind
have
of
it
listen,
be,
right?
yeah,
To
just
listen
yeah,
to the what's coming at you, and so that you can give,
listen
that's
to
it.
what's outside and also what's inside in that moment, and
Right.
bring that out. And so all the music that I played for my dad was just played on the spot, and I recorded it, and he would listen to the recordings. So it kind of, over time, people have said, "Oh, the music you composed for your dad," but I composed it, but just in the moment when I played
In
it.
the moment. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So, since you've kind of identified that this is what you feel you'd be called to do or really motivated to do, is this healing music, what other opportunities have you had?
Yeah, I was actually just before the pandemic started planning a whole tour of the country to play at hospitals
Oh,
and nursing homes and hospice centers. And so that's something I hope to do a lot more of.
right.
Uh, but instead, in lieu of that, have done some other things. Playing for, actually this past weekend, I played uh, for a memorial service at a nursing home
Mm.
in Mount Vernon, New
Okay.
York,
Yeah.
nearby. Uh, and I've been recording a lot at home and sharing those recordings with people. And I hope to do a lot more, but yeah, it's something that's still
I,
new for me. I think um, I've connected with a friend recently who does music healing through flute playing, and
okay.
um, she was encouraging me to try doing it more individually, like one-on-one with people.
Okay.
And that's something I'm interested in. I guess that's basically what I did with my dad,
Right.
uh, but I haven't really done it with anyone else yet.
Yeah, the pandemic has gotten in the way a lot for musicians, and it's, I think,
Yeah,
particularly challenging for musicians and artists to figure out how to connect in the ways that you usually connect.
yeah, yeah,
So at this point, you've been doing some by recording and putting things online and that kind
yeah,
of thing. Is that what you're finding working for you at this point?
yeah. And I've done some live streams. In August, I did a week of live streams through the Reimagine Festival
Oh, okay.
around
Great.
end of life issues, and so it was a week of healing sound journey. I call it a sound journey sometimes because it ends up
That's
being
cool.
taking that kind of form. So I'll play for like an hour, and then people just go inward
Mm.
during that time. So that's something I did in August. And I also do sometimes have it, even at concerts, I've had people, I've done a shorter piece and had people um, do some just stream of consciousness writing during the uh, during the piece so they can have a similar experience.
So they connect words with music and kind of let the music take them where they go. Is that the
Yeah,
hope? Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely the hope. Yeah.
that's really great. I saw you just published an article for, what was that for? For Klossler or something like that? Can you tell us about
Oh
that?
yeah, it's called Closer.
Closely?
It's
Yeah.
a blog from Johns Hopkins Medicine,
Okay.
and it's around uh, clinical excellence and also uh, humanism in medicine. And so that's something I've sort of gotten involved with through what I'm doing.
Okay.
I spoke at a conference last year on humanism in medicine,
Hmm.
and just shared my story of what I did with my dad.
Hmm.
So the article I wrote most recently for Closer was just a very brief, simple explanation and kind of encouragement to use music as a stress relief tool, just by uh, getting into a comfortable place, putting on some headphones, close your eyes, listen to the music and just focus on it, let it carry you someplace. And there's tracks that the article links to, so you can try it out.
So the whole idea of Connect That Faith is about connecting people around creativity and spirituality and justice. And to me, you're a pretty perfect example of that, because clearly your music and your spiritual journey have been about connecting people around those two things. And to me, I see justice in your journey too, because of the way that music can be for everybody, and that music is one of those places where everybody can gather. Have you had any of those kind of experiences where music can ease relationships or tensions? Have you noticed any of that through what you've done or what you've experienced?
In a sense, I feel like I have. I feel like, I've heard from a lot of people from all different, uh, backgrounds and viewpoints, and uh, a lot of, I think no matter who you are, what your perspective is or what you're going through, um, when you come to a piece of music that brings you peace, uh, you're going to share that in common with a lot of different people, and it can be a unifying thing. I think music has that capability of bringing people
Mm.
together in ways that is hard to achieve otherwise. And it makes me think of I'm kind of thinking of the divisions in our country, and I when Tom Petty died, that was like one of the things that I think almost everybody. I didn't hear one person say, "Oh man, I don't care about Tom Petty."
Right.
Everyone was sad, and
Yeah. So we can be united in something. Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's like
That's
something we can
important
all
right now.
get
Yeah.
behind, and if we can do that, then there's hope.
That's cool. That's very cool. So if people wanted to learn or hear more about what you're doing, where would they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, chrisdingman.com, and uh, a good way to get in touch is to join my email list, where I share a piece of music every month
Oh,
through
great.
the list, just for them.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been really fun to talk with you.
Thank you, Debbie. It's really great to talk with you.
So thank you to Chris Dingman for joining us today. This has been Everyday Spirituality with Connect That Faith. You can find us at all the places you find podcasts, and we'd love for you to subscribe or to share with people you think might want to hear this conversation. And thanks again for being with us at Everyday Spirituality.